It was 2:17 p.m. on a Saturday, June 14th, when my son stopped me at the church entrance and said, "Mom, I'm sorry, but you look too tacky. That dress, your hair, you don't fit in with Sarah's family. Please, just leave." I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I adjusted the pearl necklace my grandmother gave me 63 years ago, looked him straight in the eyes, and said, "I understand, Michael, but in 17 days, check your bank account." Then I walked toward the parking lot. What he didn't know was that those 17 days would change everything. The June sun was brutal against my face. Heat radiated through my navy blue pumps. Behind me, Sarah's voice cut sharp. "She looks so cheap. We're not letting you ruin our wedding photos." Her expensive perfume lingered in the air. I could taste bitterness in my mouth, metallic and sharp. 300 guests heard my son tell me I wasn't good enough. Whispers followed me like wasps. White gravel crunched under my feet. My hands didn't shake. Not yet. Not where they could see. But let me tell you something. Do you know what's worse than being rejected by your own child? It's realizing you saw it coming and did nothing to stop it. I reached my car, a 1998 Honda Civic with a dent from where Michael had backed into a mailbox at 16. I taught him to drive in this car. My fingers fumbled with the keys. That's when the shaking started. That's when I allowed myself to feel it. Inside the car, windows up and doors locked, I broke. Tears came hot and fast. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Through the windshield, guests arrived laughing, adjusting expensive clothes. A woman in a cream suit glanced at my car, then whispered to the man beside her. They both laughed. I didn't start the car. Because sitting there with mascara running and chest heaving, I made a decision. But I'll get to that. First, you need to understand how I got here. How the boy who crawled into my bed during thunderstorms, who cried at kindergarten drop-off, who called me the most beautiful woman in the world at 7, became the man who called me tacky in front of 300 strangers. It started when Michael was 26, 4 years ago. He'd just gotten his MBA from Columbia. I'd worked 3 jobs to help pay for undergrad, cleaning houses, convenience store register, waiting tables until midnight, for 4 years. Then his MBA scholarship, but I still sent $200 monthly, sometimes $300. The day he graduated, he hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "I couldn't have done this without you, Mom," he said, voice breaking. I thought that moment would last forever. 3 months later, he met Sarah. But before I continue, check if you're already subscribed to the channel and leave your like. And tell me in the comments, where in the world are you listening to my story from? I really want to know how far it has reached. Sarah came from old money, the kind that whispers. Her father owned luxury hotels across the Northeast. Her mother had never worked and seemed proud of it. When Michael introduced us at a Manhattan restaurant, I knew immediately. I knew by how Sarah's mother looked at my Marshall's clearance dress, by how her father asked about my work, tone polite but distant. "I work at a call center," I said. I didn't mention the houses I'd cleaned or tables I'd waited. Sarah's mother's smile told me she already knew. "How quaint," she said, changing the subject. Michael didn't notice or chose to ignore it. He was too busy impressing Sarah's father, laughing too loud, ordering wine he couldn't pronounce. I watched my son transform into someone I didn't recognize. That night, driving home in my Civic while Michael rode in Sarah's Mercedes, I felt something twist in my stomach. Something cold and small. Do you know what I did? I ignored it. I told myself I was paranoid. That mothers always feel strange when sons fall in love. That he naturally wanted to fit into her world. After all, isn't that what I'd worked for? To give him opportunities I never had? What I didn't know was that I wasn't losing my son to love. I was losing him to ambition, to status, to the intoxicating promise of belonging to a world closed to people like us. The engagement happened 6 months later. Michael called at 9:34 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Mom, I proposed to Sarah." She said yes. I should have been thrilled. Instead, that cold pebble in my stomach grew heavier. That's wonderful, sweetheart. When's the wedding? June 14th, at the estate. Her family's handling everything. Her family's handling everything. Not, we're planning together. Not, I want you involved. What, will you need help with anything? A pause. Just 2 seconds. But in those seconds, I heard everything he didn't say. No, Mom. We've got it covered. Just show up, okay? Just show up. I should have known then. The signs were there in every pause, every careful word, every time he visited less frequently. But I didn't want to see it. The invitations arrived 3 months before. Mine came in a plain envelope. Sarah's family got cream boxes tied with silk ribbons. I know because Michael posted photos. My invitation had no +1 line, though I'd been dating Robert for 2 years. When I asked, Michael said, "Mom, we're keeping it intimate, close family only." But Sarah's second cousin, twice removed, was invited, with a +1. The dress shopping happened on March 22nd at 4:15 p.m. Sarah texted me a Manhattan boutique address. "Meet us there." "No, please. No, we'd love your input." I took the train from New Jersey, an hour and 43 minutes each way. The boutique buzzed you in through a locked door. Inside, everything was white. Couches, walls, flowers in crystal vases. Even the air seemed expensive. Sarah was already there with her mother and 2 bridesmaids, sipping champagne. No one offered me any. "Helen," Sarah said, bright and performative, "we're so glad you could make it. We wanted you to be part of this special moment." But that entire invitation was a setup. Sarah tried on 7 dresses. Her mother and bridesmaids gushed and clapped and dabbed their eyes. They asked my opinion once. "What do you think, Helen?" Sarah's mother said, tone flat, like asking a waiter about the check. "It's beautiful," I said, because it was. Sarah looked like a princess in ivory silk that probably cost more than my year's salary. Sarah's mother said. Just, Then Sarah turned to me. "Helen, have you thought about what you're wearing to the wedding?" I had. I'd bought a navy blue dress 2 weeks earlier. $147, more than I'd spent on clothing in 2 years. I was proud of it. Yes, I found something I really love. Sarah and her mother exchanged a look. 1 second. But in that second, I felt myself shrink. "Well," Sarah said carefully, "the wedding has a very specific aesthetic. Dusty rose and champagne tones. I'm texting you approved dress options, just so we're all cohesive in the photos." Approved options. The cheapest was $850. I smiled, nodded, said, "Of course, and I want everything perfect for you." On the train home at 7:52 p.m., in a seat smelling of old coffee, I cried silently. Do you know the worst part? I bought that $850 dress, put it on my credit card, because I thought if I just fit in well enough, my son would remember who I was. Let me rephrase that. I desperately needed to believe it. The dress arrived 3 weeks later, dusty rose silk with delicate beading. When I tried it on, I barely recognized myself. I looked expensive, like I belonged. I sent Michael a photo. "What do you think?" 4 hours later. "Looks great, Mom." 2 words. Not, "You look beautiful." Not, "I can't wait to see you." Just, "Looks great." But I told myself it was fine. He was busy, stressed, in love. These were things I repeated like a prayer. Actually, they were lies. And deep down, I knew it. The rehearsal dinner was June 13th at Sarah's parents' estate, a property so large I got lost finding the bathroom. 60 people there. I knew 3, Michael, Sarah, and Sarah's mother, who greeted me with air kisses that didn't touch my cheeks. I wore a simple black dress, not the expensive one. That was for the wedding. When I walked into the garden where dinner was served under strings of lights, I felt it immediately. Eyes. Looking at my non-designer shoes. My purse with a stain I'd tried to hide. Michael was at the head table. He saw me. Our eyes met briefly. Then he looked away. I sat at a back table with strangers, a couple who owned a Napa vineyard, a fashion worker on her phone all dinner, Sarah's godfather, who never spoke to me again. Speeches started at 8:47 p.m. Sarah's father talked about his daughter's Yale degree, her marketing career, her impeccable taste. Then about Michael. We knew immediately he was special, ambitious, someone who understood the value of excellence. Then Sarah's mother spoke about love and family legacies. We're so grateful that Michael is joining our family. Michael is joining their family, not we're joining families together. I waited for Michael to mention me in his speech, to thank me for the sacrifices, the years I'd worked to exhaustion for his opportunities, to look at me with the love I'd seen when he was a boy. He thanked Sarah's parents for welcoming him, his college roommate, Sarah, for choosing him. Then he sat down. He didn't mention me at all. I kept my face neutral, applauded when others did. When dinner ended at 10:33 p.m., I walked to my car alone. No one said goodbye, not even Michael. I sat in my Civic in that driveway, surrounded by Mercedes and BMWs and Teslas, and I realized something. This wasn't about Sarah's family not accepting me. This was about Michael not defending me, about my son being ashamed of where he came from, ashamed of me. But I came back the next day. Do you know why? Because I thought seeing him married and happy would be enough. I thought I could swallow my hurt and humiliation if it meant being part of his most important day. I was wrong. The morning of June 14th started at 5:43 a.m. I woke before my alarm, heart racing. I'd barely slept. The hotel room Sarah's parents arranged was beautiful, but cold. Everything smelled like lavender and money. I stood in the shower for 27 minutes, trying to wash away the memory of the rehearsal dinner. Trying to convince myself today would be different. That Michael would see me, remember, apologize. That's what I told myself while drying my hair, applying makeup, stepping into that $850 dress that still scarred my credit card statement. I looked in the mirror at 7:19 a.m. The woman staring back looked elegant, polished, but she didn't look like me. She looked like someone playing dress-up, desperately trying to be someone she wasn't. I should have listened to that feeling. The wedding was at 2 p.m. I had 6 hours and 41 minutes to kill. I tried eating breakfast, but everything tasted like cardboard. A woman nearby discussed the wedding. Did you see the bride's mother's dress? Valentino, at least $15,000. They laughed easily, like that money was nothing. I left my eggs untouched. At 11:32 a.m., Michael texted. My heart leaped. Finally. Mom, just FYI, you're seated in the third row. Sarah's family takes up the first two. Hope you understand. Third row, at my own son's wedding. Behind Sarah's great aunt he'd met twice. I typed back, of course, whatever you need. What I wanted to type was, do you remember when your father left? How I held you when you cried? How you promised you'd never leave me alone? But I didn't, because I was still trying to be the perfect mother. The one who didn't complain. Do you know what's worse than being treated like you don't matter? It's accepting it. It's smiling and saying, of course, when every cell in your body is screaming. I left at 1:14 p.m. The church was 8 minutes away, but I wanted to be early. To show Michael I was there for him, no matter what. The church was breathtaking. White roses everywhere. Hundreds, maybe thousands. A woman in a headset directed guests. When I approached, she checked her clipboard. Name? Helen Morrison. I'm the groom's mother. Her finger stopped. Oh, you'll need to wait until we seat the immediate family. I am immediate family, I said quietly. She looked uncomfortable. I mean the bride's immediate family. Just wait over there, please. Over there was a corner near the bathroom. I stood there 11 minutes while Sarah's relatives were escorted with ceremony. Sarah's grandmother got the front row. Sarah's mother's college roommate got the second. And I stood in the corner, waiting. At 1:47 p.m., a groomsman approached. Mrs. Morrison, follow me. He walked fast. I nearly jogged to keep up in my expensive heels. I could feel eyes on me, not warm eyes, judging eyes. He stopped at the third row. Here. Then he was gone. I sat between two strangers discussing Provence vacations. Neither acknowledged me. At 1:53 p.m. the music changed. Michael walked down the aisle. He looked handsome, happy, like a stranger. Our eyes met briefly. And do you know what I saw? Nothing. No recognition. No warmth. He looked at me like any other guest. Actually, he looked at me and quickly looked away, like he'd seen something embarrassing. The ceremony was beautiful. Michael's vows were eloquent. He talked about partnership, growth, building a future. He thanked Sarah's parents for raising such an incredible woman. He never once mentioned me, never once acknowledged the life that came before her. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," everyone applauded. I stood too, and I felt something inside me crack. Then came the receiving line. This was where Michael would hug me, thank me, finally acknowledge me. I waited 18 minutes. When I reached him, I opened my arms. He shook my hand, like I was a business acquaintance, someone he'd just met. "Thanks for coming, Mom. The reception's at the estate. You remember how to get there?" "Michael," I started, voice cracking. But Sarah was already pulling him away. "We have a lot of people to greet. The photographer's waiting." I was dismissed. Sometimes we trust too much in those who don't deserve it. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Share your story in the comments. I want to read you and know I'm not alone in this. I walked to my car at 2:47 p.m., sat there 16 minutes making excuses for him. Again, the estate was 33 minutes away. I followed expensive cars through winding roads to automatic gates. Gardens went on forever, a mansion like a museum. When I pulled up in my Civic, the valet's face changed, just slightly, but I saw it. I walked into the reception at 3:52 p.m. A woman with a seating chart looked up. "Name?" "Helen Morrison." She scanned down further, to the very bottom. "Table 19, in the back by the kitchen." I had 16 days left until my promise would come true. But in that moment, I wasn't sure I could last 16 more minutes. But here's what I didn't know then. The real humiliation hadn't even started yet. I drove 47 minutes before I had to pull over. My hands shook so badly I couldn't hold the steering wheel steady. I found a rest stop, parked under a flickering light, and let myself brake. I screamed. Windows up, engine running. I screamed until my throat hurt, hit the steering wheel, sobbed so hard I thought I might vomit. All the dignity I'd maintained came pouring out in that parking lot at 7:58 p.m. A woman walking her dog glanced at my car, then quickly looked away. People always know when they're witnessing someone's breakdown. They just pretend they don't. I cried for 23 minutes. When I was finally empty, I looked in the rearview mirror. My makeup was destroyed, eyes swollen. My $850 dress had mascara stains on the neckline. I looked exactly how I felt. Broken. But then something shifted. The grief turned into something else. Something harder. Colder. Anger. I pulled out my phone. Hands still shaking but steadier now. I scrolled through months of texts with Michael. As I read them, really read them, I started seeing patterns I'd refused to see before. December 3rd. Me. "Want to come over for dinner Sunday? Making your favorite pot roast." Michael. "Can't. Busy with Sarah's family." January 17th. Me. "I saw the perfect tie for your wedding." Michael. "Sarah's handling all that stuff." March 2nd. Me. "I miss you, sweetheart. Haven't seen you in forever." Michael. "Been crazy busy. Talk soon." Every response was a door closing. Every message was a wall being built. I'd been so desperate not to see it that I'd made excuses for every single one. Then I found something from April 29th. I'd asked about inviting my sister Clara to the wedding. His response came 3 hours later. "Let me check with Sarah's mom." Not, "Let me check with Sarah." Not, "with us." Sarah's mom. I scrolled through older texts, found one from January 4th. I'd asked if he wanted me to keep his childhood things, baseball trophies, school awards, or clean out his old room. He'd written back, Just throw it all away. I don't need any of that anymore. Just throw it all away. I don't need any of that anymore. His childhood, his past, me, just throw it all away. At 8:34 p.m., sitting in that rest stop parking lot, I finally understood. This wasn't about Sarah's family not accepting me. This was about Michael making a choice. He'd chosen their world, their values, their money, their status, and to fully enter that world, he had to erase me, like I'd never existed, like the 26 years before Sarah were just an unfortunate backstory he needed to edit out. Do you know the cruelest part? He'd been planning it, all of it, the seating arrangements, the lack of +1. Table 19, none of it was accidental, it was deliberate. I opened my email, searched for the wedding invitation. Helen Morrison, it said, not Mrs. Helen Morrison and guest. Not Helen Morrison, mother of the groom. Just my name. Alone, like I was a distant relative. An obligation. At the bottom, small print. Accommodations have been arranged for out-of-town guests at the Riverside Inn. I'd stayed there, but I'd booked it myself, paid for it myself. I found Sarah's text from May 12th. We've booked rooms for Michael's groomsmen and their families. You'll need to make your own arrangements, since you're local. I lived 93 miles away. That's not local, but Sarah classified me as local so they didn't have to pay while they paid for everyone else's. While I'm telling you all this, I wonder where you might be listening to me. Write your city's name in the comments. I'd love to know where my words are reaching. Every detail was intentional. Every slight was planned. And I'd been too blind, too desperate, too loving to see it. I started the car at 8:52 p.m. and drove home. My mind raced. Not with grief anymore, with clarity. With the cold, hard truth. When I got home at 9:39 p.m., I didn't turn on lights. I walked through my small house in darkness, past photos of Michael at every age. I stopped at one photo, Michael at 23, right after college graduation, his arm around me, both smiling. He'd taken me to dinner at a cheap Italian place. He'd said, "Mom, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to make enough money so you never have to work this hard again. I promise." I stared at that photo for 6 minutes, trying to find when that young man became the one who'd dismissed me. Then I remembered something I'd pushed down. August 11th, 2 years ago. Michael had just moved into a Manhattan apartment with Sarah. I'd driven up to help unpack, brought homemade cookies and cleaning supplies. Sarah answered the door, surprised. "Did Michael know you were coming?" "Yes, we talked about it last week." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "He must have forgotten to mention it. Well, come in." The apartment was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble countertops, magazine-worthy furniture. I felt out of place immediately. Michael came out. When he saw me, his face flashed panic or embarrassment. "Mom, I thought you were coming next weekend." "No, sweetheart. We said today, August 11th. Sarah and Michael exchanged a look. Two people in on the same secret, on the same side. "Actually," Sarah said smoothly, "we're heading to my parents' house in about an hour. Maybe we can reschedule?" I'd driven 93 miles, taken the day off work, made cookies. But I smiled and said, "Of course." As I left, I heard Sarah say to Michael, voice low but not low enough, "You need to manage this better. Manage this." She was talking about me. I was something that needed to be managed. I'd told myself I'd misheard, but I hadn't, and she'd meant exactly that. That was when they'd begun erasing me. At 10:17 p.m., I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop, opened my bank account, looked at the records of every penny I'd sent Michael. $43,617 for tuition, books, apartment deposits, car insurance, emergencies. "Just this once, Mom, I'll pay you back." He'd never paid me back, not once. But that wasn't even the account that mattered. I opened a different one Michael didn't know about. One I'd set up 34 years ago when he was born. The balance, $273,412. For 34 years, I'd been putting money in that account, every extra dollar, every tax refund, every birthday check from my parents before they died, Michael's inheritance, his safety net, his future. I'd planned to transfer it to him on his 30th birthday, to surprise him, to show him every sacrifice had been worth it. But at 10:23 p.m. on June 14th, sitting in my dark kitchen with only laptop light, I made a decision. I wasn't going to give him that money. Actually, I was going to do something much better. I had 11 more days until the 17 days were up. 11 days to put my plan into motion. Because here's what Michael and Sarah didn't know, what Sarah's parents didn't know. The billionaire businessman they'd invited to the wedding, the one they were desperate to impress, the one whose presence would elevate their social standing and open doors for Michael's career, was a man named James Whitmore. And 35 years ago, James Whitmore had been a boy named Jimmy, who'd lived next door to me in a Pennsylvania trailer park. We'd grown up together, poor together, hungry together. We'd dated briefly at 16. He'd been my first kiss. I'd been his. Life took us in different directions. He got into MIT on full scholarship, built a tech company, became a billionaire by 40. I got pregnant at 21, dropped out of community college, became a single mother. We'd lost touch for decades. But 3 months ago, I'd seen his name in Forbes. On a whim, I'd emailed him. Just remember me? He'd written back within an hour. We'd been emailing since, catching up, laughing about old times. He was divorced, lonely, still kind. Still the same Jimmy, just with better clothes. 2 weeks before the wedding, Michael had mentioned in passing that Sarah's father had invited important business contacts. When I asked who, Michael said, almost reverent, James Whitmore. The James Whitmore. He's coming to the wedding. Do you have any idea what this means for my career? I hadn't told Michael I knew James, because by then I'd already started seeing the patterns. But I texted James, asked if he was really going. He said yes, out of politeness, but he probably wouldn't stay long. I typed back, "It's my son's wedding." Long pause. Then, "Helen, are you serious? Why didn't you tell me?" "It's complicated. Why would your son's in-laws invite me if they don't know we know each other? They don't know. No one knows. Should I not go?" And I wrote, "No, please come. But don't mention you know me. Not until I say so. I'll explain everything when I see you." He agreed, though puzzled. James was scheduled to arrive at 7:30 p.m. for the evening reception, but I'd left at 6:58 p.m. I'd run before I could see him, before my plan could work. At 10:41 p.m., staring at my laptop screen, I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. I'd left too early. I'd let my pain overpower my planning. But then my phone buzzed. A text from James. "Helen, where are you? I just arrived at the reception and wanted to say hello. Also, I'm very confused about some things I'm observing here. Call me." I stared at that text for 47 seconds. Then I called him. Only 10 more days. James answered on the first ring. "Helen, what's going on? I've been here 20 minutes and I can't find you anywhere." I was still sitting in my dark kitchen. "I left," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "I couldn't stay." "Why not? It's your son's wedding." "It was my son's wedding," I corrected. "But I wasn't really invited, not in the way that matters." Silence. Then, "Helen, what does that mean?" And so I told him. Everything. The rehearsal dinner where Michael didn't mention me. The third row seating. Table 19 by the kitchen. The vendors I'd been placed with. Sarah stopping me in the parking lot to tell me not to contact my own son during his honeymoon. With every word, my voice got steadier, stronger. The anger I'd felt earlier was crystallizing into something sharp and clear. When I finished, James was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, voice tight, "Are you telling me that I was invited to this wedding, given a seat at table 4 with the important guests, while you, the groom's mother, were put in the back with the catering staff?" "Yes. And your son is aware of this?" He arranged it. I heard James take a deep breath. "Where are you right now?" "Home." "Give me your address. I'm leaving this wedding and coming to you." "No," I said quickly. "James, you can't. Not yet. Why not? Do you know what I said next? The words came out before I'd fully thought them through, but the moment I said them, I knew they were right. Because I need you to stay. I need you to watch. And I need you to remember everything you see. I don't understand. You will. In 10 days. When Michael comes back from his honeymoon, I'm going to need you to do something for me. But until then, I need you at that reception. I need you to see exactly who my son has become. James was quiet. Then, what are you planning, Helen? Justice, I said. He didn't ask any more questions. Okay, I'll stay. But Helen, whatever you're planning, be careful. When people choose status over family, they're capable of more than you think. I know. I learned that today. We hung up at 11:03 p.m. I sat in the dark for another 11 minutes. Then I opened my laptop and started making calls. The first call was to my lawyer, Raymond Chen. He answered on the fourth ring, voice groggy. It was Saturday night. Helen, is everything okay? Raymond, I need to change my will. Immediately. It's almost midnight on a Saturday. I know, I'm sorry, but this can't wait. Can you meet me at your office tomorrow? Sunday? I heard him sigh. This must be serious. It is. 10 a.m. I'll be there. The second call was to my bank. I left a message for my account manager about transactions I needed to make Monday morning. The third call was to my sister, Clara. She answered immediately. Helen, I've been worried sick. How was the wedding? I started crying. The moment I heard my sister's voice, the voice of someone who actually loved me, the walls I'd built crumbled. Clara, he threw me away. My son threw me away like garbage. Oh, honey, tell me everything. I did. For 47 minutes, I told her every detail. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, I never liked him. I'm sorry to say it, but I never trusted that boy after he started dating that woman. You never said anything. You loved him. You wouldn't have listened. But Helen, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago. My stomach dropped. What? In March, Michael came to my house. During dinner, he said he was worried about you. He said you were getting old, that you weren't managing your money well. He asked me if I thought you were mentally declining. The words hit me like ice water. What? I told him absolutely not. But Helen, I think he was laying groundwork, building a case that you weren't competent. A case for what? For taking control of your assets. My hand tightened around the phone. He doesn't know about the account. The big one. Only you know about it. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? And that's when I remembered. Last Christmas, Michael had asked to use my computer to check his email. I'd been in the kitchen making hot chocolate. He'd been alone with my laptop for maybe 15 minutes. Oh my God. He might have looked. Last Christmas, he had access to my computer. Helen, you need to protect yourself, legally. Whatever you're planning for those 10 days, make sure everything is locked down tight. We talked for another 20 minutes. When we hung up at 12:39 a.m., I wasn't sad anymore. I was focused. I spent the next 3 hours going through every document I had. Changed everything. Created new passwords Michael would never guess. Set up 2-factor authentication. Put alerts on all my accounts. At 3:47 a.m., I finally went to bed. But I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing through everything that had happened. The patterns were so clear now. Michael testing the waters with Clara. Michael having access to my computer. Michael keeping me isolated so Sarah's family wouldn't know the truth about where he came from. Actually, it was more than that. They'd been systematically erasing me so that when Michael eventually took whatever he thought he was entitled to, there would be no one to question it. The sun rose at 5:52 a.m. I got up, made coffee, and got ready for my meeting with Raymond. At exactly 10 p.m. on Sunday, June 15th, I walked into Raymond's office. Helen, talk to me. I sat down. I want to change my will completely. Everything I have is currently set to go to my son, Michael. I want him removed as beneficiary. Raymond's eyebrows went up. That's a significant change. May I ask why? I told him a condensed version, just the facts, the seating, the dismissal, the systematic erasure. When I finished, Raymond sat back. I'm sorry you went through that, but Helen, I have to ask, are you making this decision emotionally? It's better to wait a few weeks after a major event before making permanent changes. No, I said firmly. I'm not being emotional. I'm being clear-headed for the first time in years. My son has made his choice. He chose status and money over me, and now I'm making my choice. Where do you want your assets to go instead? 50% to my sister Clara. 25% to establish a scholarship fund for single mothers trying to finish their education. 25% to St. Catherine's Women's Shelter. Raymond wrote it all down. And your son receives nothing? Nothing. You know he could contest this. Let him try. I'm of sound mind. I'm making this decision deliberately, and I have witnesses who saw how he treated me yesterday. Raymond nodded slowly. All right, I'll draw up the new documents. You can sign them tomorrow. Perfect. One more thing. I need you to send a letter to Michael, but not until June 24th. Exactly 10 days from now. What should the letter say? I pulled out a piece of paper I'd written on at 4 a.m. This. Raymond read it. His eyes widened. Helen, are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I left Raymond's office at 11:47 a.m. On the way home, I stopped at a coffee shop, ordered a latte, sat by the window watching people walk by. A mother with a young son, maybe 6 years old. The boy was pulling her hand, excited about something. She was laughing. I watched them disappear around the corner, and I felt nothing. Not sadness, not longing, just a strange, calm acceptance. My phone buzzed. A text from James. Wedding reception just ended. I stayed the whole time like you asked. Call me when you can. We need to talk about what I saw. I called him at 12:33 p.m. Helen, I don't even know where to start. Start anywhere. Your son spent the entire reception networking. He barely spent 10 minutes with his new wife. He was working the room like it was a business conference, not his wedding. He came to my table 3 times. Each time he introduced himself, handed me his business card, talked about his vision for disrupting the financial services industry. Did he mention me at all? Not once. In fact, when someone asked about his family, he said, and I quote, "It's always been just me, self-made, no silver spoon here." He laughed. Everyone laughed with him. It's always been just me. Those words echoed through the coffee shop, settled in the space where my heart used to be. But here's the worst part, James continued. About an hour after I arrived, Sarah's father stood up and made an announcement. He was so impressed by Michael that he was offering him a position as vice president at his company. Starting salary, $450,000 a year. I set down my coffee cup carefully. $450,000. More than I'd made in 10 years. Michael accepted on the spot. He gave this whole speech about how grateful he was to Sarah's family for believing in him, for adopting him into their world of excellence. He'd erased me. Completely. Not just from his wedding, but from his entire history. And he'd profited from it. $450,000. The price of his mother's erasure. There's one more thing, James said, voice quieter. After the announcement, I went to the bathroom. On my way back, I passed a hallway where Michael and Sarah were talking. They didn't see me. Sarah said, "We did it. We actually pulled it off." And Michael said, "I told you the old woman wouldn't cause any trouble. She'll take what we give her and be grateful." The old woman. He'd called me the old woman. But I didn't cry. Not anymore. That well was empty. "James," I said. My voice was steady, cold. "I need to ask you a favor. Anything. In 9 days, Michael will be back from his honeymoon. I need you to call him. Tell him you were so impressed by him at the wedding that you want to have a business meeting. Tell him you're considering investing in a new venture and you think he'd be perfect to run it. Helen, I'm not actually. I know. It doesn't have to be real. I just need him to meet with you. Can you do that?" A pause. Then, Yes. But why? Because I want him to feel what I felt yesterday. I want him to think he's getting everything he ever wanted, and then I want him to lose it all. We talked for 38 minutes. By the time we hung up, the plan was set. 9 more days. I went home at 1:47 p.m. At 3:22 p.m., I started taking down every photo of Michael, every single one. The baby pictures, the school photos, the graduations, the candid shots of us laughing, hugging, being mother and son. I put them all in a box, sealed it with packing tape, wrote Michael on the side in black marker. Then I put the box in my closet. Not thrown away, not destroyed, just stored. Because I'm not cruel like he is. But I didn't need to look at them anymore. My phone rang at 4:56 p.m., unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Morrison? A woman's voice, young, nervous. Yes? My name is Jennifer Chen. I was working as a server at the wedding yesterday. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I found your number in the guest list, and I felt like I needed to call you. My heart started beating faster. Why? Because I heard what your son said to you. I was standing right there when he turned you away at the church entrance. And then I saw where you were seated at the reception, and her voice cracked. I just wanted you to know that some of us saw. Some of us knew it was wrong. And I'm so sorry. I couldn't speak. This stranger had called to tell me I'd been seen, that it had mattered. Thank you, I finally managed. You have no idea what that means to me. My mother died when I was 15, and I would give anything to have her back. Your son has you, and he's throwing you away, and I wanted you to know that someone saw, and someone cares. We talked for 16 more minutes. When we hung up, I was crying again. But this time, they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of gratitude. For this stranger's kindness. For the reminder that not everyone had forgotten what mattered. At 6:14 p.m., I went to my computer and logged into Facebook. I scrolled through Michael's posts from the last 6 months. There wasn't a single photo of me, not one mention, but there were dozens of photos of him with Sarah's parents. So grateful for this amazing family, one caption said. This amazing family, the one that had adopted him to replace the family he'd erased. I didn't comment. I didn't react. I simply unfriended him, blocked him, removed him from my digital life just as thoroughly as he'd removed me from his. Tomorrow would be Monday, June 16th. I'd sign my new will at Raymond's office. I'd call my bank and make the transfers. I'd set everything in motion. 8 more days until Michael returned from his honeymoon. 8 more days until the 17 days I'd promised were up. 8 more days until my son learned that erasing me had consequences. Monday, June 16th arrived with rain. Heavy, relentless rain that matched the coldness I felt inside. I woke at 6:23 a.m., showered, dressed in simple gray slacks and a white blouse, and drove to Raymond's office. I signed the new will at exactly noon. My hand didn't shake. Raymond watched me carefully as I wrote my signature on each page, witnessed by his paralegal and secretary. This is legally binding as of this moment, Raymond said. Are you certain? Completely certain. He sealed the documents. And the letter? You still want me to send it on June 24th? Yes, not a day before, not a day after. June 24th. I left at 12:34 p.m. and drove straight to my bank. Margaret Chen, my account manager, was waiting for me. Helen, you sounded urgent on the phone. What's going on? I told her what I needed. Transfer the entire inheritance account, all $273,000, into a new account, one with only my name, with new passwords, with new security questions Michael would never guess. Margaret's face grew serious. Helen, that account has been designated for your son for over 30 years. And now it's not. May I ask what happened? I gave her the short version. When I finished, Margaret reached across her desk and took my hand. I have a daughter. If she ever treated me the way your son treated you, I'd do the same thing. Let's get this done. It took 2 hours and 47 minutes to complete all the transfers and security protocols. When we finished, Margaret printed the final statements. It's done. The old account is closed. The new one is in your name only. Your son has 0 access. Thank you, Margaret. As I drove home at 3:41 p.m., I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. For 34 years, I'd been building something for Michael. And now I was building something for myself, for people who actually deserved it. The days crawled by. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Each one felt like a week. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched television without seeing it. Waited. On Friday, June 20th, I received a postcard from Greece, Michael and Sarah's honeymoon destination. Beautiful sunset over white buildings and blue water. I turned it over. Michael's handwriting. Mom, having an amazing time, life-changing experience, talk soon. M. No, I love you. No, I miss you. Just talk soon, and his initial. Like I was a casual acquaintance. I put the postcard in the box with all his photos. Then I went back to waiting. On Sunday, June 22nd, 2 days before the 17 days were up, Clara called me. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Have you heard from Michael? A postcard. 5 words. Clara made a disgusted sound. And you're still going through with your plan? More than ever. Good. He deserves whatever's coming to him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the plan in my mind. Raymond had the letter, scheduled to be sent Monday. James knew his role. The will was changed and legally binding. The money was protected. Everything was ready. Monday, June 23rd. Michael and Sarah were flying back today. Their flight was supposed to land at 4:17 p.m. I knew because Sarah had posted their travel schedule on social media. Returning from paradise, I went to work, answered calls, helped customers with their problems, and at exactly 3:00 p.m., I received a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Morrison, this is Sarah. We're back in the States. Michael wants to come see you tomorrow, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Is that okay? My heart started pounding. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 24th, the day the 17 days would be complete. The day Raymond would send the letter. The timing was perfect. Actually, it wasn't perfect. It was planned. Michael was coming to see me, and I knew exactly why. He wanted something. I texted back, "That works. See you then." Sarah's response came 30 seconds later. "Great. Just Michael. I have other things to take care of." Just Michael. She wasn't even pretending anymore. I left work at 5:00 p.m., went home, made tea, sat at my kitchen table, and I waited for Tuesday. That night, at 11:47 p.m., James called. "Helen, I just got off the phone with Michael. He called me, not the other way around." My pulse quickened. What did he say? He said he'd been thinking about our conversation at the wedding, that he was very interested in exploring business opportunities with me. He asked if we could meet this week. What did you tell him? I said I'd check my schedule and get back to him. Helen? He sounded desperate, like he was trying very hard to impress me. He was. That job Sarah's father offered him? It's contingent on him bringing in high-level contacts, people like you. So he's using me. He's using everyone. That's what he does now. James was quiet. Then, tomorrow's the day, isn't it? The 17 days? Yes. Are you ready? I've been ready since the moment he turned me away at that church. We hung up at 11:58 p.m. I went to bed but didn't sleep. I lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of my house, the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, the distant sound of traffic. At 2:17 a.m., I got up and went to my closet, pulled out the box with Michael's photos, opened it, looked at the pictures in the dim light. Michael at 3, covered in finger paint. Michael at 7, missing a tooth. Michael at 22, graduating college, his arm around me. I looked at that last photo for a long time, tried to find the moment when that young man turned into the one who would erase me. But there was no single moment. It had been gradual, a slow erosion, each small choice adding up to something terrible. I put the photos back, closed the box, put it back in the closet. Tuesday, June 24th arrived with sunshine. Bright, cheerful sunshine that felt wrong for what was about to happen. I woke at 6 a.m. exactly, got dressed carefully. Not the expensive dress, my own clothes, simple jeans, a blue cotton shirt my mother had given me years ago, clothes that felt like me. At 8:34 a.m. I received a notification. Raymond had sent the letter to Michael as planned. It would arrive by courier at 10 a.m. The letter was simple. Dear Michael, this letter is to inform you that Helen Morrison has updated her will and estate planning. All previous arrangements designating you as sole beneficiary have been revoked. The enclosed document outlines the new distribution of assets. If you have questions, please contact my office. Regards, Raymond Chen, attorney at law. Attached was a copy of the new will. Michael would see exactly where everything was going. He'd see that he was getting nothing. At 9:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was Sarah. Her voice was sharp, angry. Helen, we need to talk. Michael will be there at 2 p.m. as planned. Don't even think about not being there. I deleted the voicemail. At 11:23 a.m., another call. Michael's number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail too. Mom. His voice was tight, controlled. I got a very disturbing letter from your lawyer today. I'm sure there's been some kind of mistake. We'll clear this up this afternoon. See you at 2. Some kind of mistake. That's what he thought this was. A mistake he could smooth over, manipulate, fix. I made lunch at noon. A sandwich, an apple. I ate slowly, tasting everything. I wanted to remember this meal, this moment of calm before the storm. At 1:47 p.m., I heard a car pull up outside. Michael's BMW, black and shiny and expensive. Sarah's father had given it to him as a wedding gift. He got out at 1:49 p.m. He was wearing a suit. Not casual clothes. A suit. Like this was a business meeting. I watched him walk up my driveway. He looked good. Tanned from the honeymoon. Confident. Successful. Like a man who had everything. He knocked on my door at 1:50 p.m., 10 minutes early, trying to catch me off guard. I waited 30 seconds. Then I opened the door. Hello, Michael. Mom. He didn't smile, didn't hug me, just walked past me into my house like he owned it. I closed the door, turned to face him, and I waited. He was standing in my living room, looking around. His eyes stopped on the walls where his photos used to be, where there were now just nail holes and faded rectangles of paint. You took down my pictures, he said. Yes. Why? Why do you think? He turned to face me. His expression was hard, cold. This wasn't my son. This was a stranger wearing my son's face. Mom, I got a letter from your lawyer today about your will. I know. I had him send it. You removed me as your beneficiary. Yes. Why would you do that? I looked at him for a long moment. Really looked at him, trying to find any trace of the boy I'd raised. The boy who used to climb into my lap when he was scared. The boy who used to tell me I was the best mom in the world. He wasn't there anymore. Why do you think, Michael? I said quietly. Michael laughed. It was a short, sharp sound without any humor. Mom, come on. You're upset about the wedding. I get it. But you're being dramatic. Dramatic? Yes. Look, I'm sorry the seating wasn't ideal, but it was a complicated day. Sarah's family had very specific requirements. Surely you understand. I didn't move, just stood there in my own living room, facing this man who used to be my son. Where was I seated, Michael? I don't remember exactly. There were 300 guests. Table 19, in the back, by the kitchen, with the vendors. His jaw tightened. Like I said, it was complicated. And the rehearsal dinner, where you didn't mention me in your speech. And the church, 3rd row, behind Sarah's great-aunt, who you've met twice. Mom, you're being unreasonable. And the parking lot where your wife told me not to contact you during your honeymoon? Michael's face changed. A flash of something. Anger? Guilt? Sarah was just trying to make sure we had private time together. It wasn't personal. Everything about that day was personal, Michael. You systematically erased me from your own wedding. That's not true. You told people you were self-made, that it had always been just you, no family, no help. His face went pale. Who told you that? Does it matter? Someone's been filling your head with lies. It's not a lie if I heard it myself. Silence, heavy and thick. Michael took a breath, changed tactics. His face softened. Mom, I know the wedding was hard on you. I know you felt left out. And I'm sorry. But you have to understand, Sarah's family has certain expectations. And I was trying to fit in. You always told me to reach for more, to better myself. That's what I'm doing. By pretending I don't exist? By creating a life that's different from the one I grew up in. There's nothing wrong with wanting more than what you had. What I had? Michael, I had you. I thought that was enough. You know what I mean. No. Tell me. What did you have that was so terrible you needed to erase it? This isn't about that. It's about exactly that. You're ashamed of me, ashamed of where you came from, ashamed that your mother cleaned houses and waited tables so you could have opportunities I never did. I'm not ashamed. You told Sarah's family it was always just you. I was speaking metaphorically. You seated me with the caterers. It was just a seating chart. You called me the old woman. Michael froze. His face went from pale to white. What? At your reception, you told Sarah, I told you the old woman wouldn't cause any trouble. She'll take what we give her and be grateful. Who told you that? Someone who heard it. Someone who was there. You had someone spying on me? I didn't need to. You said it loud enough for people to hear. You weren't subtle, Michael. You were cruel, deliberately, systematically cruel. Fine, he shouted, making me step back. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I seated you in the back. Yes, I kept you away from Sarah's family, because I knew if they spent too much time with you, they'd see exactly where I came from. They'd see the poverty, the struggle, the... He stopped himself. The what, Michael? Say it. His face twisted. The mediocrity. The word hit me like a physical blow. But I didn't cry. I didn't crumble. I let it fuel the anger that had been building for 17 days. I see, I said quietly. So that's what I am to you. Mediocre. Michael seemed to realize he'd gone too far. Mom, I didn't mean... You meant exactly that. And you know what? You're right. I am mediocre. I never made millions, never wore designer clothes, never went to Yale. I just raised you, alone, working 3 jobs, going without so you could have. How mediocre of me. That's not what I meant. Then explain how the woman who gave up everything for you is so embarrassing that you had to erase her from your own wedding. He said nothing. You can't, I said. Because there is no explanation. You chose money and status over me. And to fully enter that world, you had to destroy your past. Destroy me. I'm not destroying you. Then why did you ask Clara if I was mentally declining? His eyes went wide. What? March. You went to her house. Asked if she thought I was losing my mental competence. Asked if I was managing my money well. Why? Michael's face changed. The mask dropped. What was left was cold calculation. Clara shouldn't have told you that. Why did you ask her, Michael? Because I was concerned. Liar. You were laying groundwork, building a case, preparing to take control of my assets if I didn't give them to you willingly. That's insane. Tell me, Michael, when you used my computer last Christmas, what were you really doing? Checking your email? Or snooping through my files? His silence was answer enough. You looked at my accounts. You saw the inheritance account, the one with over $250,000 that I'd been saving for you since you were born, and you decided you wanted it now. That money should be mine. That money is mine. My voice rang through the house. I earned it. I saved it, and I can do whatever I want with it. I'm your son, and I'm your mother. But that didn't matter to you at your wedding. It didn't matter when you turned me away at the church. It didn't matter when you gave speeches thanking everyone but me. Michael's face was red now, furious. You know what? Fine. You want to know the truth? Sarah's right. You are embarrassing. Your house is embarrassing. Your car is embarrassing. Your clothes, your job, your entire life is embarrassing. And yes, I didn't want Sarah's family to see that. I didn't want them to know that I came from this. He gestured around my living room. I worked too hard to escape this life to have you drag me back into it. The words should have destroyed me. A week ago, they would have. But now, after 17 days of clarity, they just made me sad. I'm sorry you feel that way, I said quietly, because I was never trying to drag you anywhere. I was just trying to love you. Love is supposed to be supportive. You changing your will, cutting me out. That's not love. That's manipulation. No, Michael. What you did was manipulation. What I'm doing is consequence. I'm your son. I deserve that money. Why? Because you were born? Because I'm obligated to fund your new life while you pretend I don't exist? Because I'm family. Family shows up. Family sits in the front row. Family mentions their mother in wedding speeches. Family doesn't call their mother the old woman and seat her with the caterers. You destroyed ours. Michael's phone buzzed. His face changed. I have to go. I have a meeting, an important one. With James Whitmore? He froze. How do you know about that? Because I know James. We grew up together. We're old friends. Michael stared at me. You... what? James Whitmore. The billionaire you've been desperately trying to impress. We've known each other since we were 6 years old. The color drained from his face. No. Yes. We grew up in the same trailer park. Same world you're so embarrassed of. And unlike you, James never forgot where he came from. You're lying. Call him. Ask him. He'll tell you all about Helen Morrison, about how my mother paid his family's lot rent when they were about to be evicted, about how we dated when we were 16, about how we've been back in touch for months. Michael was shaking. Why didn't you tell me? Because by the time I knew he was invited to your wedding, I already saw what you were becoming, and I wanted to see just how far you'd go. This is insane. He was there, Michael, at your reception. He heard you call me the old woman. He saw how you treated me, and he was disgusted. No. And that meeting? The business opportunity? It's not real. I asked him to call you. So you could feel what I felt. So you could think you were getting everything you wanted, and then lose it. Michael looked like he might be sick. You sabotaged me? No, I just stopped protecting you from yourself. His phone rang. It's James. Answer it. Michael's hand shook as he answered. Hello? I could hear James's voice through the speaker. Michael's face went from white to gray. Yes, I understand. Yes, I appreciate you telling me. Goodbye. He lowered the phone. Looked at me with horror. He canceled the meeting. He said he doesn't do business with people who treat their mothers like garbage. He said... Michael's voice broke. He said I'm everything that's wrong with people who get a taste of success. He said my mother is worth 10 of me, and I'll never understand what I threw away. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you, what would you have done in my place? Tell me in the comments. I truly want to know what you think. He's right, I said quietly. Michael looked at me, really looked at me, and for just a moment I saw my son again. Mom, he whispered, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Please, please don't do this. I'll fix it. I'll tell Sarah we need to include you more. I'll tell her family the truth. I'll make this right. Will you? Yes, I promise. Like you promised, you'd never leave me alone. Like you promised at your college graduation that you'd take care of me. Like all the other promises you broke. This is different. No, Michael, it's not. Because you didn't apologize until you realized there were consequences. You didn't feel sorry until you lost something. That's not remorse. That's just fear. Please, he was crying now. Please, Mom, I made a mistake, but please don't cut me out. Don't take away the money. I need it. Sarah and I are planning to buy a house. With my money. With our inheritance. It was never your inheritance, Michael. It was a gift I planned to give you when you turned 30. a gift that required you to still be my son. But you chose to stop being my son at your wedding. You can't have it both ways. I'll do anything. Will you? Would you tell Sarah's parents the truth about me? About how you grew up? About the jobs I worked and the sacrifices I made? Would you introduce me properly as your mother who you love and respect? Would you put my photo back on your social media? Would you? His silence was the answer. That's what I thought. You want the money, but you don't want me. And I'm done being someone's ATM while they pretend I don't exist. This isn't fair. Fair? Let me tell you what's fair, Michael. Fair is reaping what you sow. Fair is facing consequences. Fair is learning that when you throw people away, sometimes they don't come back. Michael's phone buzzed. Sarah's calling. Then answer. Tell her how you just lost access to $250,000. Tell her how the billionaire she wanted you to impress turned you down because of how you treat your mother. He answered. Sarah. No, he canceled. Because of my mother? No, I can't get the money. She changed her will. I don't know. I could hear Sarah's voice. Shrill. Angry. Michael hung up. He looked at me with something like hatred. She said I need to fix this. That her father gave me that VP position based on my connections. If I can't deliver James Whitmore, I'll lose the job. Then I guess you're losing the job. How can you do this to me? I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for me. I'm protecting myself from someone who sees me as nothing more than a bank account and an embarrassment. I'm your son. Then act like it. My voice shook with emotion. Be my son. Be the boy who loved me. Be the man I raised you to be. Not this stranger who erased me from his life because I wasn't impressive enough. Michael stood there, breathing hard. He looked young suddenly. Lost. What do I do? He whispered. You figure it out. Like I did when your father left. Like I did when I had to work 3 jobs. Like I did when I raised you alone. You figure it out, Michael. Because I'm done figuring things out for you. Mom. My name is Helen. You made it clear at your wedding that Mom is too embarrassing for you, so I'm Helen now. Just Helen. He stared at me. Then, without another word, he turned and walked to the door. He paused on my doorstep. I hope you're happy. You just destroyed your only son's life. No, I said. You destroyed our relationship. I just stopped pretending it still existed. Michael walked to his expensive car, got in, sat there for a moment, then he drove away. I closed the door at 3:47 p.m., exactly 97 minutes after he'd arrived, 17 days after I'd promised him everything would change. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel happy. But I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt free. My phone rang 30 seconds later. James. Helen? Are you okay? Yes. I called him. Told him I wouldn't work with him. I know. He was here when you called. Thank you. Do you need anything? No. But James? Thank you. For everything. For seeing. For caring. For being the kind of man my son should have become. We talked for 11 more minutes. When we hung up, I sat down on my couch. The same couch where I'd read Michael bedtime stories, where we'd watched movies together, where he'd fallen asleep with his head on my lap. I sat there as the afternoon turned to evening, as the sun set outside my window, and I thought about all the versions of my son, the baby, the toddler, the little boy, the teenager, the young man, and finally, the stranger he'd become. I mourned them all, except the last one. The last one I let go. That was 4 months ago. It's October now. October 18th, to be exact. 10:27 a.m. on a Friday morning. I'm sitting in a coffee shop in downtown Princeton, waiting for James. We meet here every Friday now. Just coffee, just conversation. Just 2 old friends who understand where they came from and never forgot. The leaves outside are changing colors, red and gold and orange. A young woman at the table next to me is video chatting with someone, laughing. The sound is light and genuine. I'm wearing jeans and a sweater Clara bought me last month. You need to stop wearing clothes from 10 years ago, she'd said. Treat yourself. So I did. The sweater is soft cashmere, dark blue. It feels like a hug. My phone sits on the table. Silent. It's been silent for 4 months. Michael hasn't called, hasn't texted, hasn't reached out at all. At first, I checked constantly, waiting, hoping maybe he'd have a change of heart, that he'd call and apologize genuinely, without conditions, without wanting something. But he never did. 3 weeks after our confrontation, I heard through Clara that Michael and Sarah had moved. Not to the house they were planning to buy with my money, to a smaller apartment. Sarah's father had rescinded the VP position after Michael failed to deliver on his promised connections. Michael was back to his old job, making a fraction of what he'd been offered. I felt sad when I heard that. Not satisfied, not victorious, just sad. Sad that my son had gambled everything on status and money and lost. But I didn't reach out, because he still hadn't learned the lesson. He was only sorry he got caught, only sorry there were consequences, not sorry for what he'd done. Clara checks on me every day. "Are you sure you're okay?" she asks. "Do you regret it?" "No," I tell her, and I mean it, because here's what I've learned in these 4 months. You can love someone with your whole heart and still need to protect yourself from them. Love doesn't mean accepting cruelty. It doesn't mean funding someone's life while they erase you from it. It doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. The scholarship fund I established is already helping 3 single mothers finish their education. I got a letter last week from a woman named Patricia. She's 37, working 2 jobs while studying nursing. She wrote, "Your scholarship means I can cut back to 1 job. It means I can spend more time with my daughter. It means someone believes in me. Thank you for seeing us." I cried when I read that letter, but they were good tears. Tears that meant something I'd built was helping someone who reminded me of myself 34 years ago. The donation to St. Catherine's Women's Shelter is funding a new computer lab. Women who've escaped abuse can learn job skills there, can rebuild their lives. My money is doing more good now than it ever would have sitting in an inheritance account for a son who saw me as nothing but mediocre. James arrives at 10:34 a.m. He's wearing casual clothes, not the expensive suits he wears for business. When he's with me, he's just Jimmy from the trailer park, and I'm just Helen, no pretense, no performance. "Morning," he says, sliding into the seat across from me. "You look good." I feel good. "Really?" "Really." We order coffee, talk about small things, the weather, a book he's reading, a movie I watched, normal things, the kind of things you talk about with someone who knows you, who sees you. "Have you heard from him?" James asks eventually. He always asks. "No. I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm learning to accept that the son I raised doesn't exist anymore, and the man who replaced him isn't someone I need to know." James reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. That's very wise. It's survival. We sit in comfortable silence. Then James says, "I have something to tell you. I got a call last week from Sarah's father." My stomach tightens. What did he want? He wanted to apologize. He said he'd heard the full story from someone who was at the wedding, about how you were treated. He said he was ashamed of his daughter's behavior. Did you believe him? Not entirely. I think he's more embarrassed that I found out than actually sorry. He also said Michael's been struggling, James continues carefully. Apparently Sarah is pushing him to reconcile with you, not because she cares, but because she wants access to your money. I laugh. It's a bitter sound. Of course she does. What will you do if he reaches out? I don't know. I want to believe he could change, but I don't know if that's possible anymore, or if it's even my responsibility to wait and see. It's not, James says firmly. Your responsibility is to yourself now. He's right. For 34 years, my responsibility was Michael. I did that job. I did it well. But that job is over. And what he does with the man I raised him to be is his choice now. Not my burden. The coffee shop is getting busier. More people arriving. The world moving forward, and I'm moving forward with it. I think about that day. June 14th at 2:17 p.m. when Michael stopped me at the church door. I think about how I stood there, not crying, not begging, and promised him that in 17 days, something would change. I kept that promise. But the change wasn't just about him. It was about me. For so many years, I defined myself by being Michael's mother. Everything I did, every choice I made, every sacrifice was for him. And when he discarded me, I felt like I'd lost my entire identity. But these 4 months have taught me something. I'm not just Michael's mother. I'm Helen. I'm Clara's sister. I'm Jimmy's old friend. I'm Patricia, the nursing student's benefactor. I'm a woman who survived and built something from nothing and deserves respect. I'm mediocre, Michael said. And maybe by his new standards, I am. I don't wear Chanel. I don't drive a Mercedes. I don't vacation in Greece or have connections to billionaires. Well, except the one I knew before he was a billionaire. But I'm not mediocre in the ways that matter. I'm kind. I'm strong. I'm resilient. I kept my dignity when someone tried to strip it away. I set boundaries when someone tried to use me. I chose myself when someone tried to erase me. That's not mediocre. That's survival. That's strength. That's self-respect. My phone buzzes. A text from Clara. Dinner at my house Sunday? I'm making pot roast. I text back, I'll be there. Can I bring anything? Just yourself, she writes. That's always been enough. Just yourself. That's always been enough. I wish I'd learned that lesson earlier. I wish I'd understood years ago that my worth wasn't determined by how much I could give or sacrifice or endure. But I understand it now, and that has to be enough. James and I finish our coffee at 11:42 a.m. He walks me to my car, not the old Civic, I finally traded it in last month, and hugs me goodbye. See you next Friday? He asks. See you next Friday. I drive home through streets lined with autumn trees, past the ordinary, everyday world that Michael found so embarrassing. But this world is mine. This ordinary, simple world where people work hard and love deeply and don't need designer labels to prove their worth. This is the world I come from, the world I'm proud of, the world I'll never apologize for again. When I get home at 12:14 p.m., I notice something. A car I don't recognize parked across the street. And sitting in the driver's seat, looking at my house, is Michael. He sees me. Our eyes meet. He gets out of the car slowly. He looks thinner, tired, older somehow, though it's only been 4 months. He walks toward me, stops about 10 feet away. We stand there in my driveway, the October wind blowing leaves around our feet. Hello, Helen, he says. Not Mom, Helen, like I asked. Michael, can we talk? I look at him for a long moment. This man who used to be my son. This stranger who made choices I'll never understand. I don't owe him my time. I don't owe him my forgiveness. I don't owe him anything. But I can give him 5 minutes. Not for him, for me, for closure. 5 minutes, I say. We sit on my porch steps. The same steps where I taught him to tie his shoes when he was 5. Where I took pictures of him before prom. Where I hugged him goodbye before he left for college. I've been thinking a lot, he says. About everything. About what I did. What I said, how I treated you. And I was wrong. Not just wrong, cruel. I let Sarah's world change me into someone I don't recognize. Someone you didn't raise me to be. I wait. There's more. There has to be. Sarah and I are separating. She couldn't handle the fact that I lost the job, lost the connections, lost the money you were supposed to give me. She said I'd promised her a certain life, and I couldn't deliver. I'm sorry, I say, and I mean it. Even after everything, I don't want my son to hurt. I'm not, he says, because it made me realize something. I chose that life, that world, those values, and they were all hollow, all fake, all conditional. The moment I couldn't deliver what they wanted, I was worthless to them, just like I made you feel worthless to me. Tears are running down his face now. Mom, Helen, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to give me the money. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand. I understand what I threw away, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I sit there, feeling the cool October air on my skin, hearing the sound of wind chimes from a neighbor's porch, and I feel something shift inside me. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever fully. but something softer than the anger I've carried. Something like the beginning of peace. Thank you for saying that, I tell him. I needed to hear it. Is there any chance, he starts, any chance we could try again? Start over? I don't want your money. I don't want anything except maybe the possibility that someday you might let me be your son again. I look at this man, this broken, humbled man who finally understands what it cost him to chase things that don't matter. I don't know, I say honestly. You hurt me in ways I'm still healing from. You made choices that I may never fully understand. But Michael, if you're serious about changing, about becoming the man I raised you to be, then maybe, someday, we'll see. It's not forgiveness. But it's not a door slammed shut either. It's a possibility, small and fragile and conditional, but a possibility nonetheless. Michael nods. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. He stands up. I should go. But Helen, thank you for teaching me the most important lesson you ever could have. That love without respect is worthless, and that dignity matters more than money. He walks back to his car, drives away. And I sit on my porch steps, watching the autumn leaves fall, and I realize something. I'm okay. Whether Michael comes back into my life or not, whether we rebuild our relationship or not, I'm okay. Because I finally learned to choose myself, to value myself, to protect myself. And that's the most important lesson I could ever learn. It was 2:17 p.m. on a Saturday when my son told me I was too tacky for his wedding. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply promised him that in 17 days, something would change. And something did change. Not just my will or my bank account or his life. I changed. I found my worth. I found my strength. I found myself. And that makes everything worth it.